Hello, this is Dr. Donald Robinson, and I would like to talk to you for a few moments about understanding yourself. When you think about it, have you ever had a course in understanding who you are? I doubt it. I never had a course like that. I wish I had. People told me things about myself as I went along, but there was no organized way of me learning something about myself. So today, I would like to think with you a little bit about understanding yourself and point some things out to you that are very important that you need to know about yourself. First of all, let's talk about when you came into this world. We're not sure what all you came with. We know you came with flesh and blood and a DNA and so forth, but we're always arguing and discussing among ourselves as scientists as to how much you came with and how much you learned after you're here. But we do know some things for sure. One is that you came with empty banks in your brain. Now, your brain is much like the computer. I think you knew that we studied the brain for a long time in order to design a machine that would be similar to the brain, and that's our computer. So if you understand anything at all about computers, you can understand something about your brain. Computers have storage banks in them. Well, your brain has a lot of storage banks in it. Enough storage banks to store all the information you need for the rest of your life. And the moment you're born, you begin to store information. We think maybe you begin to store some information even before you're born while you're still in your mother's womb, but we're not sure about that. But we do know that the moment you're born, you begin recording a lot of information. Your senses begin to develop, and those senses begin to pick up information. And before long, the people around you start telling you things. Do this, don't do this. This is what we do. This is what other people do. This is what boys do. This is what girls do. This is bad. This is good. And they give us a lot of information. That information supposedly is to help us live more effectively. And you know that your brain stores all the information that you get and it holds it there the rest of your life? That's true. Everything that goes into our brain is permanent. The only thing that removes anything from the brain is if we have an accident, which destroys some of the brain, or if we destroy it with alcohol or drugs. Other than that, the storage banks in our brains remain relatively intact, and new information is put in all the time. So you can't get rid of the old information. You can simply put new information in top of it. And it's important to know that, and you'll see why in a little bit. So our brains begin to store information. We get these messages from the people around us, and they begin telling us things. And so we start to school, the messages come faster. They show us wiggly lines, and they say these are letters, and they show us other wiggly lines, these are numbers. And you can put the letters together and make words. And we learn all kinds of interesting things about ourselves and the world around us. The problem is that a lot of time we gain misinformation. People tell us things that they thought were true, but they really aren't true. And so you need to know that an awful lot of the information in your brain that you've stored from the time you were born is erroneous information. It is incorrect information. It is crazy information. And that makes every human being on earth half crazy, because we've got a lot of crazy information in our brains. Information was told to us because people thought it was true, but it isn't true. I'll give you a little bit of an example. Have you ever seen a sunrise or a sunset? No, you haven't, because the sun doesn't rise and the sun doesn't set. We turn our face to the Earth's face to the sun every morning, and the Earth's face away from the sun in the evening, but the sun doesn't rise and the sun doesn't set. That's misinformation. Now, why is it there? Well, for most of human history, they thought we lived on a flat Earth and that we were the center of the universe, and therefore the sun rose in the morning and set in the evening. Well, we know different now. We know that we live on a ball and the sun doesn't rise and set, but you still have that misinformation in your brain. But it's okay. That information isn't going to hurt you at all. It's very minor, and we all know the truth. In fact, it's a lot easier to say I saw the sunrise than to say I saw the Earth turn its face to the sun this morning. So it doesn't hurt us to use that misinformation. But there's other misinformation in our brain that is very hazardous to us and makes it very difficult for us to make healthy decisions from time to time. Let's talk about some of that misinformation and how did it get there. People very seldom purposely lied to us. Oh, they did at Christmas time. They told us that Santa Claus came in a sleigh pulled by 8 tiny reindeer, but eventually we just knew that that was part of the Christmas pageantry and it really wasn't true. But that is information isn't going to hurt us very much. It's the information that we learned from people around us that they really thought was true that oftentimes hurts us. But it's important to know that you're half crazy, I'm half crazy, and everybody in the world is half crazy. It's the human situation. There's no exemption to it. I used to try to be the person that was right all the time. I hated to be wrong. And so when I would find some misinformation, I would go back to school or read a new book or take a new workshop to get some more information. But I would come back even crazier than before, because something you should know about the misinformation in your brain is that education doesn't get rid of it. It adds to it. Now, education is very valuable. It gives us a lot of good information. But who are the people who are educating us? They're half-crazy people. Who are the people who write the books? They're half-crazy people. Who are the people that do the lecturing? They're half-crazy people. And while they may give us a lot of correct information, they may pass on incorrect information to it. So there's no getting away from the fact that every human being is half-crazy. And you should enjoy that. That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just the human situation. In fact, if you run across somebody that doesn't know they're half-crazy, you just know somebody that doesn't know themselves very well. Because it's impossible to grow up in any setting without getting a lot of misinformation in their brain. And so what we'll want to do is to put some new information in on top of that. But you should know some things about that information that are important. First of all, when you realize that you're half crazy and accept that, and realize that every other human being is half crazy and accept that, you start treating people differently. First of all, you treat yourself differently because you don't punish yourself when you make a mistake. You say, okay, there's some of the craziness that got into my decision making. And when other people do dumb and stupid things, you don't punish them either. You say, well, they're half crazy. What would I expect from them? They're going to make mistakes. And so we begin to treat ourselves and other people much better once we recognize that craziness is a human quality and it's okay to be half crazy. One of the other things you should know about crazy is that when you know you're half crazy, it makes you much more mentally healthy. Now, I worked in the field of mental health a lot in my life. I was president of Family Guidance Center in our community, which was our major mental health community, and president also of the board of our mental health society. So I learned a lot about mental health. In fact, my wife and I met in a mental hospital in North Carolina. We were doing summer volunteer work as college students, majoring in psychology, and we worked with psychotic patients in the mental hospital. So I learned a lot about mental illness. And I learned that the kind of craziness I'm talking about is not mental illness. In fact, once you know you're half crazy, you become a much healthier person because you're in touch with reality, and that's what makes people mentally healthy. And once you know you're half crazy, you become more healthy because you know that fact in your life. So it's very important. Now, while we're half crazy in many subjects, there are two subjects in life that I want to mention that are more than half crazy. And they're subjects that affect a lot of people a lot of the time. And so you need to know that these subjects are probably 80 or 90% crazy. One is the field of religion. Now, I worked all my life in the field of religion, so I'm not putting down religion in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply saying that religion has a lot of craziness in it. Look at most of the atrocities that are being committed in the world today. And look at the atrocities that have been committed in the world in the past. Weren't most of them related to some sort of religious disagreement or religious fight or battle? And so religion has a lot of craziness in it. And therefore, you need to be careful of religion. There are good tests for religion. One of the tests I apply to religion is, does it teach you to think for yourself? If a religion says to you, don't think for yourself, just believe what we tell you, what our forefathers, what our ancestors, what our scholars tell you, we don't want you thinking for yourself, that's not a very healthy kind of religion. Good religion will say, this is what our forefathers, this is what our teachers, this is what our history teaches us, but we want you to think for yourself, because thinking for yourself, you may come up with new truths that are better than anybody has thought of so far. So thinking for yourself is extremely important. While I think religion is extremely important, good religion is for the purpose of helping us develop a healthy quality of life.